There we go. And we're public this time too. Welcome in, guys. We are live. This is Talking Tide. This is the post game after the Louisiana Monroe. I mean, we'll call it a demolition. We'll call it what it is. Despite, I don't care who it's against. Bama went out there and they steamrolled ULM. We'll give it just a few minutes. Let people jump into the stream. I'm gonna take me a sip of this nondescript drink. There's an echo. It's not good. That's why. Alright, should be fixed now. Let me know if it's still there. I think I had the desktop audio playing through the stream setup though. Let's see. Is that better? Better. Perfect. All right. Well, we can go ahead and jump into the show a little bit. We'll do some just kind of clean up stuff here early on. Let people join the stream. Not talk too much about the game. First things first, please do like, please subscribe, hit that follow button, and hit the little bell notification so you do know when we go live. I'm going to do what I didn't do last show and actually remember to share on Instagram that we are live. Give me one moment. I promise I'm not on my phone texting. Go ahead and share the stream real quick. Hold on 1 second. Man, I'm bad at YouTube. I struggle to find anything and have no idea how to share it, to be honest. Alright, here we go. Okay, and all right, and we are live. And this is shared now. All right, cool. That is up on Instagram. All right, I did not do that last week, so I made a note to actually do that this week. Sorry about that. All right, how are we doing tonight, guys? It is a much better feeling today than we had after the last post-game stream. First things first, please like, follow on Instagram. That's where I do most of my information. All the news, show news, all that good stuff is all going to be over there, so please go follow Talking Tide on Instagram. Got a lot of stuff going on over there. Let's see, is my audio level a little bit low? I hear it's showing a little low, but I'll just bump it up just a hair. If it gets too loud, just let me know. All right, first things first. We got a couple things to talk about. I also want to add in something new. The press conferences for both the coordinators and the head coach dropped today, so we're gonna go and I figured we'd watch it, react to it. I haven't seen it yet, so I kind of wanted to go in there and watch that with you guys, see what you think, and see how I hear an echo through my headphones. Sorry. See what you guys think the coaches said. From what I've seen, like little clips and things here and there, it seemed pretty positive overall. I generally like what these coaches say, but I need to see it on the field. And luckily enough, this week we saw it. So we'll open up first things first. We'll talk about the defense. They got a lot of criticism last week, rightfully so. Lack of effort, lack of consistency, lack of discipline, all that stuff. So it was all granted, I think, at the moment. But the one thing we always talk about with players is what kind of defines you is how you respond. And they responded very well. There was a lot of harsh criticism sent their way, but they responded in a very positive manner. They worked hard in during the week, came in, and ULM dropped to 0. So they put in a lot of good effort, a lot of intensity, a lot of fight, hunger, aggression, all that good stuff, flying to the ball, making things happen. They did a much better job of that this week. And the first thing is, it's always people are going to say, oh, it was ULM. I don't care who it is. If you go out there and you shut out an opponent, it's a good week for a defense. That's an A-plus performance. If you were to tell me that last week if Florida State didn't happen and we come into this week, we look like a different ball team. The mentality kind of flipped 100%, or it flipped just 360 just right around. So I think that the defense is at a much better place than it was. It's going to be a question of, can we now go do it against a team like Wisconsin? Wisconsin's definitely a step up from ULM. They've had their struggles this past couple of weeks, but they're an obvious step up from ULM. And then we go into Georgia and we have to do it away from home, which our track record isn't great away from home. But I think if we continue to grow and continue to build on what we did this past weekend, we'll be okay. Even if we just go in there, we show some fight, we work hard. Even if we don't come out of Athens with a win, as long as we fight and we respond, we don't look like we did against FSU, I'll be much, much happier. A couple of things. The turnover rate. We did a very good job of forcing turnovers. There's one negative, and we'll get to that. I think with this defense, that was really kind of one of the few negatives for the whole game on Saturday. Turnovers were good. We were +3. We kept them at less than a 50% conversion rate on third down, and we held them to 148 yards. I don't care who you play. That's a good Saturday night. Let's see. One thing that I do want to talk about that I think was lacking, and it lacked against Florida State, it's been a little bit of a consistent problem with these Womack defenses in the past couple of weeks and months, is a lack of pass rush. And we saw it again here against ULM. There's not a lot bad to be said, but when there is some negative spots, we do have to call it out. We had 12 tackles for loss, which is good. We were getting to the backfield, causing some disruption, but we had 0 sacks against ULM. So I don't know if that's a scheming issue. I don't know if that's a personnel problem. Tim Keenan is still hurt, which when he comes back, that'll be a bonus. But there's a lack of pass rush there, and this past weekend we brought 4 guys a lot. I don't know if it's time to start bringing 5 or 6. But something has to change a little bit on that defensive front, because whenever you play teams with elite quarterbacks and elite wide receivers, it's going to cause a lot of problems. Now, we did a good job this weekend of coverage was better. We saw linebackers making a couple plays in the secondary as well. Justin Jefferson knocked down one early before he got his interception. And when you look at that interception, I don't actually know who it was that got a hand to the quarterback, but got up there, got hands on the quarterback, and he kind of flipped one up to the middle of the field looking for one of his own guys, but he got intercepted. So when the pass rush does get home, it creates positive plays for the defense, but it just doesn't get home that often. Like I said, we had 0 sacks against ULM, and that scares me going forward for whenever we play a good team who's got a good quarterback, receivers who can get open, and we'll probably have better linemen than what we saw against ULM. So that scares me a little bit. Tim Keenan's day-to-day, so hopefully whenever he comes back, he'll bring a little bit more of a pass rush with him. Let's see. I hadn't watched a ton of the film. It was a late game. Got home yesterday, chilled, watched some football with family, played fantasy, all that good stuff. So I hadn't dug into the film so much. I might save that for tomorrow. I'll watch it on Tuesday, and then maybe on Wednesday we'll go over a little more of the technical stuff if y'all want to. But just I need to go through. I need to watch the scheming. The linebackers, we very rarely brought more than 5. If I remember right in that whole game. We were at it, so I didn't get really a chance to watch replays and all that good stuff. But for the most part, I saw us bring 4. We would maybe bring 5 once in a while, but it was kind of lacking. I'll be honest. I was a little bit disappointed with the pass rush. No sacks starting the season. Yeah. I think we had 1 sack last week against FSU, but 1 sack for 2 games is not great. Almost feels like we were relying on the secondary to create takeaways. And see, when Kane Womack talks about his defense, he does like to talk about this defense getting a lot of takeaways in the secondary. But we see what happens when we do get the pass rush. We didn't get a lot of it on Saturday, but the one time we did, we got an interception. We created a lot of problems. We got a lot of tackles for loss, so that's a positive, but I don't want I wrote down in my notes, I don't want coverage sacks. I want pressure sacks. I want guys to get in, to break loose, we're struggling to get past our blockers one-on-one, maybe bring an extra guy, maybe create up some stunts and some different defensive looks, but there has to be a way to get a consistent pass rush, because when we go to Athens and play Stockton, he's a guy who can sit in the pocket and make throws happen. Lenore Sellers, another guy who can use his feet, but also can make things happen through the air. There's some elite quarterbacks that we're going to play down the road that if we don't affect them in the backfield, it's going to make our secondary look really poor. And there's only so much you can do as a secondary. Like I said, you can get coverage sacks, but even against ULM, that didn't happen. So it concerns me a little bit about the pass rush. But I say all that to say it was a great improvement from defense. Guys were working hard. They were fighting through blocks. They were playing much more aggressive, rallying to the football, getting takeaways. So overall, great improvement from the defense, but there's still some things to clean up and to improve upon. And I think Womack said something similar in his press conference. Like I said, we'll go watch it, but I think he was kind of along those same lines. My second takeaway from this game is Ty is the guy. It's as simple as that. Ty Simpson went 17 for 17, 226 and 4 total touchdowns. He had 3 through the air, 1 on the ground. He could have had another one as well. Made a great play, breaking away from a potential sack through a deep ball to, I think it was Jeremy, and would have been a touchdown, but they blew it for some BS flag down the field, and that took away that touchdown from him. But after his first week at FSU, he struggled a little bit. He had his issues. I'm going to say I never thought that Ty was the problem in that FSU game. Was he perfect? No. But did I expect him to be perfect? Also no. But after this week, he pretty much literally was perfect. Like I said, 17 for 17, 226, 4 total touchdowns, and a couple yards on the ground also. I also want to credit Ryan Grubb. We talked about it a little bit in the pregame show that I think that this offense needed to have a little more balance to it. Ty threw the ball 43 times against FSU, and I just don't think that's a key for success with this offense. Despite the obvious talent we have at wide receiver, I don't think that throwing the ball 50 times a game is what this team needs to succeed, and Grubb did a much better job of that this week. And when Ty did throw the ball early, it was stuff in time, it was stuff in rhythm. He gave him some easy stuff to kind of warm the game up, get it going, and then you're allowed to take shots down the field when your guy's in rhythm. He's feeling it, and Ty was feeling it, man. He played a great football game. But credit to Ryan Grubb. I think Ryan Grubb will continue to grow. There's a lot of talk about Womack and his job and all that nonsense. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not calling for jobs, especially this early in the season, but I think Grubb is the guy. I think he's the right hire at the right time. I think Ty fits his system very well, especially with the receivers he's got in place and the running back room, which is also very impressive. Let's see. All right, so talking about wide receivers, huge talking point this week. Brian Williams injured, got hurt against FSU, didn't play. So Latsier Brooks, huge hype around the guy. Looked really good in preseason, in fall and spring camp. We'll talk about him a little bit, but first thing I want to mention is Jeremy Bernard. He is undoubtedly wide receiver number 1 at this point in time. We talked about him after the FSU game. He was one of the few guys who went out there, had some fight, had some grit. We talked about it at the beginning of the season, too, that he could very well be the number 1 guy in the wide receiver room. Talked about it more against Florida State, and then now he's confirmed as the number 1 guy in that receiving room. Grubb wanted to get it to him every time he could. Ty wanted to get it to him every time he could. We schemed different plays, like that little inside reverse shuffle we gave to Jerem for the second touchdown. Stuff like that, designing plays to get him the ball. He's a playmaker. He doesn't have that game-breaking ability that Ryan Williams has at times, but man, he's consistent. He gets the ball every time. He goes for touchdowns. He makes big plays happen with his feet. He can catch the ball very well. He's just undoubtedly the number 1 guy right now, and that has potential to change. There was a lot of competition this week, but I just don't see anybody taking that number 1 job from Jerem. Other 2 starting guys was Zay Horton and Latsier Brooks in the absence of Ryan Williams, and I'm telling you, man, Brooks, highly, highly impressive. We were sitting there in the stands. We were on the north side, and we were watching all the guys warm up. My brother leans over to me and he says, "That number 17 looks pretty shifty. He looks like he could be a player out there." And he went out there and he played a good football game. I got his numbers here somewhere. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. He had 4 catches for 58 yards. He did have a touchdown, but he busted a couple big plays. And when he got the ball, he had that thing that Ryan Williams also has. Whenever he gets into open space, you just feel like things can happen when he has the ball. Was great seeing how happy. Yeah, dude, Jerm was so happy. That smile he had on his face after that, after both touchdowns. I'm glad to see him happy. He's one of those guys who goes out there, works hard. He's a leader on that team, and he's one of those guys who deserves to be happy out there. And I'm glad he's getting his recognition. His stock's only going up, and it's more and more likely we'll see him playing on Sundays. Yeah, the hype around Brooks, it was a lot. I was super high on him in the preseason. A lot of guys were, and he went out on Saturday and showed why. Seriously impressive. Got an opportunity, kind of like Kevin Riley in a way. Got his opportunity with Ryan Williams out of the game, and went out and he took it. Really impressive guy. Got a lot of talk. A couple other guys too. Cole Adams, Zay. All these guys went out and got some meaningful touches early on. I mean, this wide receiver core is as deep as it gets, man. I mean, you look at guys like, we got Cole Adams, Jalen Hale, Isaiah Horton, Jeremy Bernard, Lazier Brooks. I mean, it's as deep of a room as you could find in the country. And then when you add Ryan Williams in there, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to be playing on Sundays. And that's a lot to talk about just in week 2. But, I mean, the potential that these guys have in this wide receiver core is immense. And one of the things we talked about preseason was that we needed that 1,000-yard guy this year. Like, we had to have a 1,000-yard guy this year because we hadn't had one in 4 years at this point. Jerm can be that guy, no doubt. Brooks could be that guy, the way he plays. Obviously, Ryan Williams could be that guy as well. I mean, there's a lot of talent at this receiving core, and we now have the quarterbacks who can distribute the ball better. I love Jalen Milroe. I'm a Jalen Milroe defender through and through. But this type of offense, it just sets up better for a guy like Ty Simpson. Rico Scott's another one I had written down. Jalen Hale coming back from injury. So, I mean, this wide receiver core is as deep as it gets. Now, we have to have this discussion, and it's not a fun one. It's kind of one of those ones that people like to stay away from. But it's the discussion that's been going around. I'm going to take a sip of my drink real quick before we have this discussion. And it's a discussion around Ryan Williams. So, me personally, I defend the guy to the hilt. Anything I see on Instagram or on social media trying to badmouth the guy, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to defend him. Now, he didn't have his best week in week 1, which nobody did. I mean, nobody played very well. Nobody could ever make me hate Millie. Yes, I am. Nobody. I'm never going to hit on Jalen Milroe. I'll defend that dude till the day I die. And it looks like he could get a couple looks in for the Seahawks as well. So, with Ryan Williams, we know his ability. We know his talent. We know what he can do in games. We just haven't seen it often enough in these past couple of months. And this goes back to, I would say he played well against Georgia, played well against Vanderbilt at times. Kind of from then on, it had been a little bit of that lack of game-breaking ability from him. Then he went out against FSU, didn't have his best game, had a couple of drops, which drops happen. I'm not stressing about that. But there's just been a little bit of that lack in productivity, and guys are going to double team him. They know what he can do now. They get a steady film on him, all of that good stuff. But we just need to see a little more of that hike in production because Jerm's number 1. So that's clear and obvious to everybody who watches football. I think that the other side of that coin is for that 2 and 3 spot, there's a lot of competition, man. Like I said, with having a wide receiver room that's this deep and this impressive, there's not a lot of room for mistake because the guy right behind you is going to really want to come up there and try and take your job. And guys like Lazier Brooks, Cole Adams, Jalen Hale coming back from injury, all those guys out there, they play ball. Like, they're out there, they're dogs, they're looking for their opportunity, and guys like Brooks took it this weekend, man. Watching him play when Ryan Williams gets back and gets healthy, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. Now, I still think Ryan Williams is still going to start. I think Zay Horton's also going to start. Zay gives you that. He gives you a little bit of that different ability being a big-bodied guy. He can go out there, he can block, he can make 50-50 catches, all that good stuff. But, I mean, Brooks and Williams are on that same build. Jeremy's consistent, fast. He can run really good routes, and we're going to look to get him the ball a lot. But when you look at Brooks and you look at Williams, they're a pretty similar guy. They got game-breaking speed. They're shifty when they get the ball in the open field, and they're competitive. And Brooks went out there, and he looked really good. That's another thing I had written down I was going to talk about. And I'll go ahead and say it now. When Williams plays in the slot, I don't like Williams in the slot just in general. I think he plays much better ball on the outside. I clearly Grubb sees something in the scheme that he may like having him inside the slot, but I don't like it as much. I think he played his best ball last year when he played outside. He's got the speed. He can go downfield. He can beat guys one-on-one. He can make those tight catches on the sideline, stuff like that. So that is something I will take into account of that. I don't think he played his best position against FSU. I don't like seeing him in the slot. I think there's better position for him to play. But that being said, after this weekend, it's going to be hard to keep Brooks off the field. He was impressive. People are going to be calling for him to come out and play, and I think he can be a very valuable guy in this wide receiver core. Now, and again, I don't think he's going to start over Ryan Williams, but I think there's a very real possibility there could be some competition in there. I think that was all I wanted to say about the wide receiver room. Yeah. All right, so we will go. We'll talk a little bit about the quarterback room. Now, we talked some about Ty Simpson, but we saw the other two guys as well. We saw Austin Mack. We saw Keelan Russell. And, I mean, everybody had a good night. Everybody had a 90-plus QBR. I think Mack threw 8 for 10 for 80 yards. Keelan threw 6 for 8 or something along those lines. I got it written down somewhere. But one thing I did love that Grubb and I'm sure DeBoer had something to say about it as well. I love that they did with Mack. We got him in the second quarter. We got him in there, got him reps with the ones. I think that was more of sending a message. Ty clearly played a very good game and was playing a good game up to that point. He got brought out for that one drive. I think it sends more of a message to everybody. I think it's saying, hey, nobody's job is safe. Everybody, if you play hard, if you work hard in practice, you're going to get your shot. And Austin got his shot, went out, played a good drive, went 3 for 3, scored a touchdown. I think he's seriously impressive. He went out in the third quarter as well, made some plays happen, got a couple of touchdowns under his belt. Keelan Russell went out, something that everybody wanted to see. I mean, the crowd kind of stood to his feet when they realized he was on the field. Was also very impressive. And when I talk about the three guys in the quarterback room, Ty's obviously the number one guy. He's very decisive. He plays good ball. He's confident. He's comfortable in the pocket. He plays at good game speed. Austin and Keelan are the 2 and the 3. Austin is a little more polished. He's just been there longer. He's not quite as raw. But when you talk about Keelan Russell, and like Brooks, the hype around him coming into this season was immense. I mean, it was huge. It was as much as it was for Ryan Williams a couple of years ago. And when he goes out there and plays football like he did this weekend, you understand why. Like I said, he's a little bit raw. He's green. He doesn't have all the reps, doesn't have the timing yet. But when the way that ball comes off of his hand is seriously impressive. There was one play. So we were sitting on the north side, and when he came into the game, they were going to the south end zone. So we got to see what the quarterback saw. We got to see from behind him and kind of got to watch the game from his view. So he goes out there for his first touchdown, and I'm watching him. He steps back. He kind of looks around, goes through his reads, steps up, tries to run, gets a little bit blocked off. And as soon as he dropped his head to try and run, I saw Isaiah Horton over in the corner. He sticks his hand up there saying, here, I'm open. I got some space. And the corner was underneath, and the safety was over the top of him, like more to his left. And I see him stick his hands up as soon as Keelan kind of tries to go up there and dive in for a run. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, he had an opportunity, but he missed him. He just didn't get up there in time. And as Keelan tries to kind of step up, the corner and the safety sees sticking his hands up there. They start to squeeze him a little bit. I'm like, all right, well, that's the opportunity missed. And Keelan picks his head back up and just zings it to him. I didn't think there was any room to throw it. I mean, he absolutely zips that ball in there. But it was a catchable ball, had some touch on it. But the speed and the zip that it came off with was seriously impressive, especially for a freshman. Flings it in there, gets a touchdown. And he did the same thing on the second touchdown. I got it on, you can go check it out on Instagram. But and the way the ball comes out of his hands, he throws such a catchable ball. It's got zip, it's got pop, but there's times when he can throw it with touch as well, and that'll be something that also gets developed and improved upon. But he's seriously impressive. When you talk about the three quarterbacks in the quarterback room, the upside for Keelan Russell is as high as anybody else in the country. So the hype around him is real, and it's real for a reason. I don't think that he could fight for the second job. He won't fight for the starting job with Ty the way he plays. I just don't think that's a real possibility. But very excited to see what he's got in the future. All right, on to the next. Another guy I want to talk about, and we talked about him a little bit. We talked a little bit about it on Instagram as well. Is Kevin Riley. There's been a call in Tuscaloosa for the hometown hero, the hometown guy, grows up in Tuscaloosa, knows what it means to play in Crimson and White, knows what Saturday's like at Bryant-Denny at night. And I think Kevin Riley's that guy. Like Brooks, I think he went out there and he took his opportunity. He's a four-string guy. When Jam was healthy, he was a four-string guy probably. And doesn't think he's going to get a lot of touches on the ball. Jam gets hurt. He goes out there. All right, maybe get a couple more reps then. And then during the Florida State game, he goes out and he outshines anybody else in that running back room. Everybody wants to see him on the field this week. Goes out there, dominates. And this might be a bit of a hot take, but I think when Jam comes back, I think he's got a very real competitor in Kevin Riley for being the number one guy. Kevin Riley for me is the clear number two right now when Jam's healthy. But he could put a little bit of weight on. He could put a little bit of muscle mass. He's a little bit smaller than all the other guys, but man, the guy runs hard. He's a hometown guy. People love him, and as a true freshman, man, his upside, kind of like Keelan's, is immense. He's a seriously impressive talent, and like I said, he's another one of those guys. I just don't think you can keep off the field that often, even when Jam comes back. I think Jam will be the number one guy. He still has to come back and earn his spot, but I think that Jam he'll have a little bit of competition coming back, which is good. That kind of competition is positive. When you don't have competition, I'll talk about this here in a little bit. When you don't have the necessity for it, when you're not like, oh, this guy kind of stinks, we kind of need the other guy. Instead, you're saying, the guy behind is pretty dang good. This guy's good, but both of them are pretty good. We need them both, and they can compete for the starting job. That's positive. That's what you want to see. Keelan and AK going to feed families. Yeah, legit, dude. AK Deer was one of the guys I wanted to shout out as well. Played an impressive game. I mean, that run he had at the end of that game was seriously impressive. The speed he showed just to get around the end, very, very impressive talent as well. I mean, that running back room, like the wide receiver room, as deep as anybody in the country. Let's see. Another guy I want to shout out, kind of as a hometown hero, a legacy guy, if you will, is Dre Kirkpatrick. I didn't actually pull up his stats. I had in my mind to write them down, but I just forgot to. But Dre Kirkpatrick is one of the guys out there this weekend that turned it up to 11 on the defense. He was impressive. He was fast. He was running around. He hit guys hard. He forced a fumble. He was one of those guys that's maybe he's not the biggest or the strongest or whatever that may be, but he's a guy who goes out there, puts in the effort, plays hard, rallies to the ball. And I'll be honest, I think that's part of his upbringing. His dad, if you don't know, is Dre Kirkpatrick, one of the true greats at Bama. And I think there's something to be said for when you grow up in that environment, like Kevin Riley. When you grow up in the environment of you know what it's like to play football at Alabama. You're not a West Coast guy coming in. And that's not a shot to any of the West Coast guys coming in, but that's just saying you were there when Saban was there. You were there when national championship teams were there. And we had rivalry games that meant a lot. And when you're a guy that grows up around that like Dre has, I think, and I don't obviously know him in person, but I think whenever you grow up around a guy like that and you grow up around the culture and your dad was, one of the greats, I think that definitely has something it does something to you a little bit. And honestly, I think Dre went out there and said, you know what? I know what it means to wear the crimson and white, and said, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to play for it, and I'm going to try and make these guys proud. And he did. He got sent off with a BS targeting call, but we said before the game, me and my brother were riding up there, and we said in the car, you know what? If this defense goes and plays with intensity and you go get a flag, make sure you earn it. And he went out there, he earned it, and I thought the hit on Ryan Williams a couple of weeks ago was more egregious than that, but what are you going to do with referees? But shout out Drake Kirkpatrick as well. The whole thing I want to talk about to kind of wrap up this segment of it before we go in and watch the press conferences is I just wrote down that I said competition. And that's what this game showed me we have a lot of, not just on the field, but in the practice, or during practice on the weekdays. I would say most of the wide receiver guys start at 90% of the places in the country. And then you have guys behind you. You got Jalen Hill, Cole Adams, Latzir Brooks, guys like that who are trying to fight for that starting job. Kevin Riley, Richard Young, Jam Miller, all those guys are fighting for the starting job. We saw it with quarterbacks, Keelan and Austin and Mac, and Ty. There's competition everywhere on this field. We saw Michael Carroll get out there and fight for the job for Wilkin Formby. That was one thing I did see from Grubb's press conference. He's saying, there's definitely competition between Formby and Carroll. And Michael Carroll is a dog. I don't know if you guys seen his recruiting tapes. That dude is a dog. That dude wants to go out there and he wants to hurt people when he plays football, which I love that. That's what we need on this offensive line. I think that's a good competition. That's something healthy that this team needs to build and to grow and say, you know what, my job is not always safe. There's only two guys out there I would say their job is completely safe, and that's Jeremy Bernard and Ty Simpson. Nobody else's job is safe. If I would have said that a couple months ago and said, Ryan Williams' job may not be safe, people would call me crazy, but there's some real competition out there for each of these guys. That goes for the defense as well. So the competition is deep in this team, but it's something that we need. I think we need guys to be a little bit uncomfortable saying that my starting job might not be secure. And if it's not, I'm either going to improve or I got to find somewhere else to go. And hopefully the mentality is I'm going to improve, and not saying I'm just going to go somewhere else. But I think the competition is very good for this team. Like I said, I think that's something that Ryan Grubb talked a little bit about. But I think this team is deep enough. I said at the beginning of the season, I said this team is deep enough to win a national championship. But we can't be comfortable in where we're at. We got to keep going forward. We got to improve. We got to build on what we did this past weekend, take it into next weekend against Wisconsin, and go forward from there. And just continue to build and to grow. If I see this team building and growing as the year goes on, I'm not going to have any complaints. We may lose games. We could lose against Georgia, whatever. If we do that, but we're still growing and learning and competing, that's much easier to swallow than if you go out to Florida State and you just get beat because you don't have the effort there. I think that's all I wanted to talk about on this section. Yeah, I think that's about it. I do want to go in, and I have the press conferences pulled up. Let me pull this up real quick. Now, I will have to put my headphones on for this. Hopefully there's no echo. All right, let's see what we got. Let me turn on the desktop audio, and then we'll switch you guys over. All right. So this is Kane Womack, defensive coordinator for Bama. This is what he had to say in the press conference.
Go ahead and take some questions.
Let me know if it's too loud.
Okay. I thought this past week the emphasis that we made with the effort and physicality that we needed to play, relying back on what we call Bama fundamentals, which is effort and finish, hard shoulder tackling, playing with violent hands, and creating takeaways. We took a step in the right direction. I still think our execution is not good enough. We've got to continue to work and push there. We've put some things on tape that we're going to have to answer for as the season goes on and continues. We need to stay uncomfortable as a defense. That is my job to make sure that we do that. I think our coaches have coached with a great edge. I think our players are playing with a great edge from a standpoint of the way they prepared this past week, and it showed up on Saturday. But good teams improve. And
pause it right there. I don't think I can hit for copyright, but I think that what he said there is important. Nobody's job is safe, man. Oh, sorry, I have my little stream pulled up. Nobody's job is safe. Play uncomfortable. Know that the next man up wants to take your job. It's like we talked about last week. Guys want to take food off your plate, but this time it's a teammate. He wants to take your job, take your money, take your spot on Sunday. So I think that's good what he said. Nobody is safe. Nobody should be comfortable in their job, especially for the defense, man. After that first performance, I look around that defense and say the only guy whose job's safe is probably Tim Keenan. Wow, Tim Keenan. And he's hurt. So everybody's job is on the line. So I like that he said that.
And you do that by moving and operating with purpose, and I think we need to continue to do that. Looking forward to a good opponent in Wisconsin, a team that we played last year. They look very different on offense in terms of some of the things they're doing schematically. Some of their personnel is the same. A number of guys are different, including the quarterback position. And so looking forward to squaring off with them on Saturday. But we've got to have a great week of preparation, and we need to make sure that we keep the focus on our players' ability to maximize their opportunity on Saturday. It always builds to Saturday, and we need to make sure we have a great week for that.
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it.
I would like to clear up. I do have YouTube Plus, but on the account I'm using, I don't have it. Sorry about that.
What did you see from the interior defensive linemen who were working and taking Jeremiah Beeman snaps, and how is that looking forward going forward to replace him?
Yeah, I think I think you're seeing some good things from some younger players in Asai Faga and London Simmons. Both those guys did a good job. James Smith had a really good game. I think was a player of the game from a defensive line standpoint. Did a nice job for us in there as well. And so I think we've got some guys that are trending in the right direction. But good teams improve, and those guys need to continue to do that as we go, especially in the level of consistent execution.
Coach, what do you feel like is preventing you guys from ending those quarterback pressures with a sack?
Honestly, you've got to be able to have guys that can finish, and right now we're not doing that. We're not doing that well enough. I think angles are a huge piece to that. I think closing space on a quarterback is a huge indicator, right, of having success. But right now we're letting quarterbacks, we can flush them out of the pocket, but we're not doing nearly a good enough job of getting the quarterback on the ground. We had 12 TFLs in the game the other day with no sacks. I don't know if that's ever happened,
So that's one thing we did talk about. We had 12 tackles for loss, but not a single sack. Like what he said, we can get pressure at times, but we don't finish it. There was a couple times this past weekend where we had some pressures. We created a turnover with some pressure, but we never ended up actually completing a sack, which is a little bit scary, a little bit stressful.
At least in my experience. And so we got to do a better job. I've got to find a way to get the quarterback on the ground in terms of what we're doing schematically. And so I need to help our guys out in that regard.
Hey, Kane. I'm curious, thinking back to that first drive, you saw, James Smith kind of show enthusiasm, Justin Jefferson kind of show enthusiasm. Did you see an increased kind of fire or vigor in terms of responses to big plays from whether it's on the field, sideline? Was kind of the energy up in that regard? Did you see?
I thought our players met the standard of effort, physicality, passion that we've established here defensively, and that you have to play the game with defensively. And that's the standard. It's the expectation. And I thought we got them, they used as a point of emphasis. It was the thing that we did not show up well enough in the first game. And our guys did a good job of emphasizing that, and it showed up. But again, that's who we are as a defense. That's who we should be. And so the standard is a standard, and it was met. It was great.
Linebackers, particularly the two younger guys, Caden and QB getting in on some turnovers.
Yeah. QB was in on 2 takeaways defensively, which was great. We've made an emphasis of not just creating takeaways, but trying to score, and we had an opportunity to do that, but fell a little bit short there. So I think a tight end chased him down, so we kind of gave him a hard time on that one. But I think one of the big emphases in the offseason is creating forced fumbles and punching at the ball, and QB did a really nice job of that. That last takeaway that we got, did a nice job of coming in there and punching the ball out. Those are things that we chart and practice every day. And
that was one thing I did want to talk about. Last year, we did a very good job of creating turnovers, and we're one game in. Florida State, we had none. But in this last game, we did a very good job. Like you said, we got 3 turnovers, and we had a muff punt against Florida State. But I don't qualify that down to the defense getting a takeaway necessarily. But guys like QB Reese, Dre Kirkpatrick, he forced one of the fumbles. Justin Jefferson got the pick. He also had another good coverage play. So I think the defense is trending in the right direction, but we just have to continue to grow and continue to build. And if we go +3 in turnovers every week, I'm not going to complain.
And he's a guy that continues to do those things in practice, and then it showed up on game day. So you always want to be able to reinforce your messages, right? And so when you can show guys, hey, he did this in practice, and then all of a sudden it showed up and he got production on game day, that's a good message.
Just how do you view Dre Kirkpatrick's fit at safety as opposed to Husky, and is there a coaching point for his targeting hit there?
Yeah, obviously, I think Dre did some good things at the safety position the other night. He's been doing that all spring. He's been doing that all fall camp. He plays the game with a lot of effort and energy, and some good things happen from that. He created one of our takeaways in the game, just flying around and hitting people. Obviously, when you're moving, towards a ball carrier in the manner that he was in the targeting call, if you just can't leave your feet, and put yourself in a position to eject right with your helmet being the first part of your body that's going to make contact with the ball carrier. And so those are the things we talk to our guys about, taking the extra step, right? Not leaving your feet. That's bad football in general. But taking that extra step to make sure that we don't launch, that we're moving through the tackle instead of to the tackle. And so that's a point of emphasis that we made with him, and hopefully we get that.
All right, that's fine. That's enough of that interview. It's fine. Divorce.
Just thought overall.
Okay. And sorry, I know there's an echo whenever I play video. I'll skip around a little bit. We'll go to the questions, all that good stuff. So if I'm skipping around a little bit, don't judge me too much.
The guys did a good job of taking everything we worked on during the week, transferring the game plan over to the game, and I think the week in general they focused on us, focused on our preparation, the week 1 to week 2 improvements that you'd expect to have, that needed to happen.
That was one thing I wanted to talk about too. Is week 1 to week 2, it's different teams, guys who haven't played before or have had an off season. It's where you go in and you get up to game speed week 1, and we ran into a bit of a buzzsaw against FSU, but I think FSU is a good football team. They have very big playoff potential, which could be bad for me, and I have to get a tattoo. But I think that we're much more up to game speed, especially on the defense. I think they're much more adjusted to game speed, and ULM's not playing as fast as someone in the SEC will, or as fast as Florida State did, or as fast as Wisconsin is going to play. But I think there is something to be said for going from week 1 to week 2. Sorry, listening to my own ears, me talking. Week 1 to week 2, I think you always want to see that improvement, and we did this week.
They did a nice job, and that's across the board. And questions about Ty, and I'm sure on that. Your quarterback's always a main kind of a controller of that, and he did a nice job. I think guys did a nice job at channeling the energy that needed to have happen throughout the week in the right things, just focused on the right areas, and so I thought they did a nice job there with that. So 3 takeaways. No turnovers. Love to see that.
That was one thing too. I was really worried about ball security in week 1, but Ty did a good job, and everybody's held on to the football, no fumbles and no picks through the first 2 weeks. I'm very impressed by that, by this offense. Got a new guy back there, and he's trying to lead this offense. And one way to do that, not giving away the ball. We had a couple times last year where we gave away the ball a few too many times, and this year we've done a much better protecting it. And Ryan Grubb in the preseason said, talked a lot about Ty and how well he protects the football and doesn't give anything away. No picks in the pregame scrimmages or in the preseason scrimmages. So I think he's done a very good job with that. And as long as we can keep the turnovers to a minimum, I think that we beat teams like Georgia, because this defense can get takeaways. But again, the only stress to that is we got to get pressure on the quarterback. So if we can go out there and win turnover battles week to week, we'll be good. And you're not going to lose turnover battles if you don't give the ball away.
2 of them were fumbles. Last year we got a lot of interceptions, and so love to see the aggression there, popping the ball loose, and those are things that get contagious. And I thought, talked to the team a lot about that and how that's got to carry over into this next week. But going to Wisconsin, and just a ton of respect for Coach Fickle. We got to move forward. We got to stack days. We got to continue to sustain the effort, sustain the energy, and continue to focus on our fundamentals. A lot of young guys got some experience that I think was really good. Guys are understanding their roles. And so, Jake bowed up. He bowed up.
Responded that,
and we got to keep it going.
Yeah, Coach, with you guys playing Austin in the second quarter for a series, it sounds like that's something you guys did at Fresno with Jake Hayner. Just how did you see Jake respond to that, and maybe how are you hoping Ty does the same thing?
Yeah, he did something I've done a number of times over the years, going way back, but that's one of the more recent ones. And so, Jake bowed up. He bowed up, and thought Ty responded pretty well too, and it's one of those.
I do like that as a concept. It creates still that competitive edge in Ty. Ty wasn't going to be happy that he got pulled out of the game. He wanted to continue a great game. And Austin came in there, put in a good performance. So Ty kind of says, ooh, I don't like that. The guy behind me put in just as good of a performance as I did, went 3 for 3 and scored a touchdown. So I think that's good. I think that competition is good, and people criticize DeBoer's coaching style and doesn't yell enough, all that stuff. But I think that's a good thing that he did. And also, Austin got reps with the ones. So if Ty doesn't have a good game one week or gets injured, we're not going to talk about that. But if that does happen, now Austin's got reps with the ones, and he can go out there and feel comfortable enough to control this offense. So I think that was a very good move from DeBoer.
Those they kind of question probably at first why, but I think competition is just going to bring out the best in everyone, and I think that did that for Ty in his week of preparation. Obviously, it helps Austin, gives him some energy to really go out there, and we're looking at him. He got some quality snaps in the game, and across the board we do that at other positions and don't really think twice about it. We guys rotating in at defensive positions. We do that at the offensive line, receiver personnel groupings. We're doing a lot of that. So again, competition, helping bring out the best. And, that's what Jake did. And I think that's what Ty did here this last week.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Shut up.
Wanted to ask you about Lasser Brooks' play against ULM and just down the road, if he continues to emerge, would that compel you guys to maybe play Ryan a little bit more on the outside when he comes back like he was last year?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a really a valid question, and a thought process that we're going to continue to go through. Lottie's built up a lot of momentum. When I say Lottie, lots here, built up a lot of momentum here in the last 3 weeks to 4 weeks. He had a nice spring ball, and made some plays on Saturday, and so got some confidence in him. He made guys miss. He made big catches on third down. In the first game, he played with some aggression on some special teams plays that we were hoping for, and he came through. As far as how it affects everything, it adds him to the mix, which then moves people around. Doesn't mean you have to play everyone, in the same spot the whole game. I think Jern can play inside and outside. I think Ryan can play inside and outside, and so we just got to always continue to be evaluating that throughout the season, and different dynamics will change too that maybe are unknown right now, fortunate or unfortunate. So
I hate that he talks like a CIA psyop. Just doesn't really give me a straight answer, but I think that's a good point that was raised. I already said it. I don't think Ryan is fit for the slot. I don't think he needs to be playing inside. I think he's at his best when he plays outside, especially when he gets one-on-one. But I think Latsier is a very good guy who can play in the slot. He can also play outside. He's got some speed to him, but I think he can be excellent in the slot, get him the ball quick, hit him with a slant, a little outside, something in the flat, whatever you want to do. But if you get that ball into his hands, he's hard to stop. And again, it's only week 1, so we haven't seen a ton. I think we'll see him a lot next week because I'm not 100% sure how Ryan is. I think that Lottie could go out there. I'm saying his name like that. I hate that. I actually kind of hate that nickname. But we'll see how Brooks goes going forward. I think he's going to get a lot of play time against Wisconsin. So we'll see him and Ryan on the field at the same time, probably at Wisconsin. So we'll have a bit more of a clear answer.
Ryan's got that versatility. He's taken a number of snaps inside, but we know what he can do outside too. And so he made a lot of nice plays, as we all know, on the outside. So I thought Isaiah, Germ, I thought they did some nice things.
You had said last week.
I continue to hone in on how it all fits together.
Second row on the left.
You had said last week that Jam could possibly play against Wisconsin. Just how is he progressing along, and also Ryan Williams and Jamarian Latham? Yeah,
we got a number of guys that are day to day, and he would certainly be one of them. We're optimistic that there could be a chance. I really don't think we'll know until we get later in the week. You saw him in pregame. He was out there doing some things aggressively, trying to continue to.
I think you're just talking about his going week to week as far as injury goes.
It surprised me that we had that exchange, and I can say this: he really missed not being.
It was pregame, and he came up to you, and y'all both seemed very the staff, if you can, as well as what he means. Coach, I know pregame can be a little bit of a blur, but there was a moment between you and Tim Keenan that was shown on the broadcast. Can you share what TK said to you pregame, if you can, as well as what he means to the team and the staff?
When was that?
It was pregame, and he came up to you, and y'all both seemed very locked in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he was hyping you up, telling you that he's got your back or whatever it was, but it seemed to have a little bit of an impact.
Yeah. Well, TK, I can say this: he really missed not being at the game in week 1, and he's a high energy guy. And I know that I really challenged him with and told him we needed that for our team. And so it wouldn't surprise me that, we had that exchange, and him bringing that energy, not just to our players, but our coaching staff, including me. So, I really appreciate, he's a captain. He's poured into.
That was one thing in the pregame. Tim Keenan, if you hadn't seen the video, he walked up and said something to DeBoer. But again, he's not telling. I want to know what he said. I want to know if he was getting into his ear. I want to know if he was hyping him up. I want to know if he was saying, hey, remember this? We talked about this week. Because in that players-only meeting, I found out that DeBoer actually got into the players-only meeting. So it was just a team meeting with a head coach. I wonder how that went. I think Tim Keenan is the voice for this team, and I'm very curious to know what he said. I really, really wish he gave it up. I don't think he does. We'll skip around this one a little bit and then probably go to the Grubb interview.
I do remember now. It was on the sideline there, him standing right there, right before kickoff, and so that's just that's TK. He loves this team, and he.
If you remember when it was, you know what he said. I want to know.
Feel very supported by him for sure. To answer your question.
Hey, Kalen, I'm curious about whether it's you, whether it's your.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like reporters calling head coaches by their first names. Wow, if you did that to Saban, man, you would never get back into an interview. Ooh, hey, Kalen. Wow, I hate that.
Assistant coaches, how you guys approach, say, penalty prevention over the course in practices and encouraging your guys to do that. And are you satisfied with kind of the, how your players, penalty totals over the past few games, and how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, there's different. Each side of the ball has their own ways. The foolish ones are the ones you really address, and so the takes no talent ones, and there's consequences for every one of them, and as far as how it's gone into the games, we came back. I thought we had some aggressive penalties, some unfortunate situations, I thought, in the game, but it is what it is, and we can't live in the gray area, and that's what do a better job and play through the ball carrier with a lower target. We got to do a better job and play through the hitting. Yeah, we got to lower our center of gravity. And that's what we've emphasized all year. Situations, I thought, in the game, but it is what it is, and we can't live in the gray area, and that's what we've emphasized all year. The targeting, yeah, we got to lower our center of gravity. We got to do a better job and play through the ball carrier with a lower target. Can't launch ourselves, helmet first, and that's the rules of the game. We got to be better and
actors. Oh. I just want to know if he said anything about the Drake or Patrick thing.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen from Wisconsin so far this year? What kind of challenges might they present?
We may go into that on Friday, talking about the Wisconsin game. Or we could go into it on Wednesday, but I don't want to talk too much about next week. This is mostly the post-game. Now, I don't see Grubb's interview up here. Shout out AL.com. Go subscribe, do all that good stuff. Maybe we'll find Grubbs on Wednesday, but because we've had a long stream so far, and I don't want to take up everybody's night. I think that's probably going to do it for tonight. We may go watch Grubbs' interview on Wednesday. Gonna take these off. Don't want to listen to myself talk anymore. We'll go into Grubbs probably on Wednesday. I think, let me make sure I had nothing else in my notes. Okay, the last thing I had in my notes, just to kind of wrap this whole show up, I'm very encouraged by what I saw. I think that we are in a much more positive spot than we were before. I think that we can, I was at the very beginning of the presser. Is that Ryan Grubb talking at the beginning of the presser? If it is, we can just watch it on Wednesday. Sorry. Got distracted. So this weekend, or after the game today, we know we have that intensity. We know we have the ability to play up to that level, to play up to the standard, to play hard-nosed, head-hunting football, and that's the standard now for the year. We know you can do it. We saw it this past weekend. Let's go out there. Let's play like that because we know you can, and now there's no reason not to. It is at the beginning. Okay, that's fine. We'll go watch it Wednesday probably because we've already been going about an hour now, so we'll go ahead and we'll watch it on Wednesday. That'll give us a little more something to do. Maybe do that and watch some game film. So don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Hit the bell notification so you are kept up to date whenever we go live. Yeah, build on this win. Wisconsin's going to be a different team. They haven't played great this year, but they're a step up from ULM. Let's go out. Let's put in a good week this week in practice. And look, I'm proud of this team. I think this team did a very good job of responding to a lot of negativity, both coaches and players. We had some guys go out there. They stepped up this week. Now go out there, step up this week in practice, and just build, man. We know that this team has the talent and the ability to do the job, but we just got to go out there and do it every day. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Want to go a little bit longer tonight. Monday night, not a lot to do except for watch football, but I got to go check on my fantasy team actually. So Will Reichert is my last player to play, so hopefully he's giving me a couple points. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you guys have a good week. We will tune back in on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are enjoying the lives. Hit that like notification, hit the little bell notification, hit the subscribe button so you know when we go live. I appreciate